What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and I wish I could say the more things change, the more they stay the same. But in this case, that's not the case. So, what do I mean by that? Well, with the upcoming release of the Xbox One X, it gives us the perfect time and the perfect opportunity to look back at the last 4 years of the Xbox One. We'll call it 4 years, give or take, but it's roughly 4 years. And the reason why I want to do that is because, well, I want to give my personal experience with the Xbox One, as well as just a quick little overview to go with it at the same time. We'll start with, say, all the way back with even the announcement of the Xbox One back in May of 2013. Obviously, there was a lot of issues back then. There was a lot of controversies, mainly helmed by Don Matrick. If you're looking along the lines of, say, something with the 24-hour check-in online DRM, the whole policy where they tried to bring in no used games, they forced Connect on everyone, which again led to performance issues, hence why we really have the Xbox One X upcoming. But of course, a lot of these policies were changed in the run up to release and shortly after release, so that's all promising from that side of it. And then, real quick, we'll have to look at the launch lineup. You've got first party, second party, and third party games. You've got Dead Rising 3, Forza, I think it was Forza 4, maybe Forza 5 at the time, Rise, Son of Rome, Killer Instinct, the free to play version, as well as a decent smattering of third party games as well, the kind of thing you'd expect for a new console launch. You've got the likes of Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Battlefield 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, FIFA, Madden, NBA, the usual yearly games. You can look at the likes of things that were missing features at the time. For example, there was no hard drive, no proper hard drive indicator or hard drive management. You couldn't actually see how much space was on your Xbox One and how much was used. Originally, you could delete stuff off it, but you couldn't see how much space was left. There was no Dolby Digital, despite the console being billed as an all-in-one home media center for your DVDs, your Blu-rays, your TV, and of course your games. Yet it didn't have the most commonly used digital surround sound format until it was patched in much later. Very strange. And it even missed some basic things that were previously already existing from day one on the Xbox 360 over 10 years ago, roughly about 13 years ago at the time of launch. Wait a minute, that's not right, I can't count. About 8 years prior. The point is, it didn't have things like a battery life indicator, even if you used your official plain charge kit for the Xbox One. It just wasn't there and was completely omitted for some reason, as well as the awful notification system, which again just didn't happen and didn't exist, despite them having it set properly and having it nailed down since 2005 when the 360 released. So the big thing also to look at was the upcoming games, the upcoming big titles that were all billed for the Xbox One in its, we'll call it, first year of release. Realistically, there was only one, and that was a third-party exclusive. Now, as stupid as the third-party exclusive term is, because it came to Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC. So it was Titanfall, which kind of flopped, basically. And eventually the sequel went multi-platform in PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and that kind of flopped as well. But that's beside the point. When you look at an Xbox One, a new console in the Xbox series, you're naturally going to expect new entries in the Microsoft franchises. We were expecting new Halo games, new Forza games, new Gears of War games. They were the main ones, as well as some other stuff that they had teased, saying the likes of, say, Quantum Break, Sunset Overdrive, Scalebound, and Crackdown 3. Unfortunately, some of those games did release and became a bit lackluster, some of which were delayed and some of which were completely cancelled. So that's also a bit of a dodgy issue there. You've got Microsoft went the timed exclusive route for some of their games as well, with the likes of Dead Rising 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider. They got about 90 days of console exclusivity on them, then released on PC, and then releasing on the rival consoles a year later. So they did go with that kind of stuff when it came to how they would handle exclusives and brand deals, etc. Even the likes of, say, FIFA and Call of Duty. Usually Call of Duty and FIFA would be synonymous with Xbox, and they would have content and features that would be exclusive to Xbox. Given the kind of lackluster sales and lackluster performance of the Xbox One, those brand deals have now gone elsewhere to other platforms. FIFA and Call of Duty, for example, as well as Destiny, now have brand deals with PlayStation, and stuff that could, the old versions, the new iterations will be having features on PlayStation 4 and whatever consoles that are just exclusive to them rather than whatever. So where does that leave us? Now, let's look at my experience when it comes to Xbox One, okay? So I got my Xbox One on launch night. I got it at midnight on launch night. I only got to play it for about 2 hours or so because I was gone for the rest of the weekend. But the point is, I got it day one. I still have my day one edition controller, even if I use my Elite controller nowadays. But the point is, on launch, I only got Dead Rising 3. Technically, I got Forza as well because it came free with my Xbox. But I played two races of Forza just to look at the graphics because I don't like racing games. So that's a whole other story. But the point is, when Dead Rising 3 came out, I played it. I played a hell of a lot of it. Within the first week, I put a shitload of time into it. And then over the course of the next couple of weeks, as well as when the DLC started coming out, I started playing it more and more and more. But eventually, I got kind of, I won't say burnt out, but I got kind of done with the game. I had basically everything done. At the time of actually what we'll call quitting the game, I had every single achievement bar one of the broken ones in the final DLC, which is actually why I stopped playing it. So that was a bit of a pain in the arse, and that kind of annoyed me. Now I know they've released another one since then, the like Capcom X Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Mega Ultra Mix Hyper Edition Alpha 2 Remix Zero, whatever the hell they call it. But I know they released that, and I haven't gone back and played it because it's really just a multiplayer DLC. But the point is that Dead Rising 3 was a decent game. Now, I'm a huge fan of Dead Rising 1 and 2. I love them. Dead Rising 3 was a big step down, but it still wasn't terrible. It was adequate when it comes to a Dead Rising game. Now, Dead Rising 4, on the other hand, terrible game. But the point is, at the time, Dead Rising 3 was pretty decent. And it was really all we had on the Xbox One at the time, so we gave it a little bit of extra headroom on there too. Now, that's where we start running into a big problem. After about the first month or so, I didn't turn on my Xbox One again for about a year. That's right, about a year. Imagine buying a console, a €500 console. In fact, I spent about €650 that night because I spent €500 on my console. I spent whatever the price of Dead Rising was, probably about 65, 70, €75. I bought a play and charge kit, and I bought a 1-year Xbox Live subscription. So that's the guts of £700 right there. That's somewhere between 650, £700 right there. So that's that's not fun, especially when you think of the fact that, okay, I spent all that money and then I basically didn't have anything to play on it for the next year. Now, we all know that the early years and life cycles of whatever of consoles are usually pretty sparse and pretty bare, and this whole generation had the remaster craze and all as well. But at the same time, I didn't even have remasters to buy on it. So that kind of annoyed me. I mean, I'd spent all that money and I'd been sitting there. The console was just sitting under my TV with basically no reason to be used for how many, like 12 months? Because let's face it, Dead Rising 3 came out in November, so I would have played it from, we'll be generous, I would have played it till the end of December, because I do remember specifically going back on to Killer Instinct, of all things, on Christmas Day, because I wanted to pwn some scrubs that had just got it brand new for Christmas, and I pretty much bodied a shitload of them. It was great, because they were all noobs, and never really got a chance to play it and learn it. But that brings us on to our next big thing when it comes to the Xbox One. The fact that I didn't get to play it, or I didn't have a reason to play it, for another year after I had originally, stopped playing it. Halo, the Master Chief Collection. So, we all know Halo, the Master Chief Collection. It's a remastered collection of Halo 1, Halo 2 Anniversary, Halo 3, Halo 4, and they eventually added in Halo 3 ODST. So, when you look at everything that was in that, it was a big undertaking. Now, the problem is the game launched in an extremely broken state. Now, for the most part, I'm not going to say completely, but for the most part, the majority of the issues were mostly for multiplayer, not just competitive, not just cooperative, but a little bit of both. So there was a huge amount of issues surrounding the Master Chief Collection. However, for the most part, it didn't hinder my enjoyment of it, because I'd say about 99% of the time I've spent in that game to this day is still single player campaign, single player story mode. I've played through every game on that collection multiple times, including multiple different difficulties. I've beaten every game in that collection solo on Legendary, among other difficulties and other playlists and other everything. So I've put a serious amount of time in there, and outside of a couple of glitches and a couple of bugs, yeah, it's been pretty good for me. I've definitely enjoyed it. So the big issue with that is that even to this day, that not all the issues have been fixed, and frankly, it's too late. The game online with multiplayer is, for the most part, all intents and purposes, dead. But you can still buy the game and play the single player or play the campaigns co-op with relative ease and relative hassle-free. And again, they're the Halo campaigns. They're pretty damn good, if you ask me, at least anyway. And here's where another problem persists, because after that, the end of 2014, when the Master Chief Collection released, I didn't get another game until late 2015. That's right, the next Xbox One game I bought was Gears of War Ultimate Edition, a remaster, or remake, whatever way you want to look at it, of the first Gears of War 1 game on Xbox One. So that's almost another year. And at that, it's a remaster. Hell, you can call a Halo Collection a remaster as well. So I haven't bought a new game in 2 years. From Dead Rising 3, the next actual new game I bought was Halo 5. Also in 2015, shortly after Gears of War Ultimate came out. And Halo 5, for the most part, is of very questionable quality, but much further down the line, even after that, they eventually patched in Warzone Firefight. Firefight being the whole, we'll call it cooperative horde-style gameplay, which I'm a fan of from previous games, from, say, Halo Reach, Halo 3 ODST, but the point is, I prefer those a lot more now than I like competitive-based games. So, having said that, since they launched Warzone Firefight, I've consistently played Halo 5 over and over again. I usually played at least one match a day, usually more. So I can't say that Halo 5 in general has been a flop for me. The story and the campaign, yeah, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, it still provided me with a decent amount of fun and time in Halo 5. And of course, here is another problem as well, that you've got Halo 5, released at the end of 2015. Next game I bought was Quantum Break. Not a great game, okay game at best, but was kind of a one-hit wonder. Not even a one-hit wonder, it was a one and done. And then, 6 months later, Gears of War 4. Now, Gears of War 4 I got a lot more use out of, but here's the problem. At that time, Gears of War 4 had been converted to an Xbox Play Anywhere title. So, at first, because I didn't have Windows 10, I played a lot of it on Xbox One. Played some co-op campaign, single player campaign, and then I played a decent, well, not even, a more than decent bit of Horde, because I'm a big Horde guy, big Firefight guy. That was it. However, when I upgraded to Windows 10, I uninstalled my Xbox copy, because I have a beast PC that I can play better in every single way, Gears of War 4. So that kind of goes as a mark against it. So despite all the time and enjoyment and fun I put into Gears of War 4, it almost became obsolete. At least it did for Gears of War. So the only two, let me give you a perfect example. The only two Xbox One games I have installed on my Xbox One at the moment are Halo 5 and the Master Chief Collection. You know what? Just to bump up the numbers, we'll throw another one in there, because I do have Xbox One edition Minecraft on there too. But I mean, come on, that's Minecraft. It doesn't count. When you look at the Xbox One and the big games that you can only get their style, you're not looking at Minecraft. You're looking at the Master Chief Collection. I realize the remasters of existing games, but the point is, Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 is literally it for me. This brings me to another point as well, is that backwards compatibility, once they did add it to the Xbox One, is great. I've spent a huge amount of time across a huge amount of games added to backwards compatibility on Xbox One. Hell, I would argue that I've probably played an equal amount of 360 games, 360 time on Xbox One versus actual full-on Xbox One games, which within itself could be kind of bad. Because sure, it's a great feature to have, and it's great that I can play it and do all this stuff, but I'm using my €500 8th generation console to play backwards compatible 7th generation games instead of actual games that you can offer me on Xbox One. It's a bit of a problem. But on the plus side, they are going the extra mile now as it stands, and they're going to be launching original OG Xbox 180 backwards compatibility for Xbox One in the upcoming months. As it stands at the time of recording of this video, it's not out yet because we are still a little bit off with the Xbox One X, but the point is, the OG backwards compatibility, I'm excited to see what they do with it, even if it's not out just yet. So despite many of these, what we can perceive as issues, I've still had a decent amount of fun with my Xbox One and a decent time with my Xbox One, be it playing single player games, be it playing online games just by myself with other random strangers, or be it playing cooperatively or even sometimes competitively with my friends on Xbox One, or even if we go back and play something from 360 backwards compatibility on our Xbox One. I know I've played through the Gears of War trilogy several times on backwards compatibility with friends just because we can. It's been a pretty decent time. Now, having said that, has it been worth the investment of €500 after all this time? I'd say probably, because the sheer amount of time I've got into and put into the console in general, regardless of what I'm doing on it, I feel like it's came out and it's been justified. Now, that's not to say that they're not existing issues that have been fixed, existing issues that haven't been fixed, and upcoming issues that may or may not get fixed. For example, the lack of true first part, not just first part, the true exclusive games for 2017 in particular, especially with the upcoming release of the Xbox One X. They need to give players a reason to buy the Xbox One X. Now, obviously, it's going to sell well for the initial batch because the people who are going to buy it are going to buy it at the start, and there's that group who, myself included, will be one of those people. So that's a whole other story. But the point is that going for huge extended periods of time without buying games, without having big games to release, without having a game that you can't get anywhere else, without having a game that needs to be talked about, just available on your console, it still is not a good. It's not a good look. It's not a good lineup. It's not a good public image, and that is why I think at the moment, and it's basically in an unrecoverable position, that the Xbox One is selling less than half of the PlayStation 4. As it stands at the moment, the PlayStation 4 is at 66 million units that I could find, and the Xbox One is at 30 million units. Not a bad number by no means, but it's definitely a huge unrecoverable disparity, especially when you consider the previous generation, where for 99% of it, Microsoft were absolutely killing it and were miles ahead for so long. So despite all of these, again, possible negative perceptions and some of the negative times that I've had with it, overall, I have had fun with my Xbox One. I still play it to this day. I've just finished streaming the Master Chief Collection and everything in it. I'm moving on to Halo 5, and again, even on my own time, I'm playing Halo 5 Guardians Warzone Firefight by myself. Just, I say by myself, but online, just on my own time. So I can't really fault it for that too much. However, the best way I find to describe it as it stands at the moment, because this could all change with the Xbox One X, giving it the power edge, But the point is that I compare my current Xbox One to my PlayStation 3. During the 7th generation of consoles, the Xbox 360 was my primary console of choice, as it was for basically all of my friends. I had a PS3, I bought games for it, I did play them, but every multi-platform game would be bought on my 360. For example, I have over 100 360 retail games. I think I've got about 30 PlayStation 3 games, and they are all exclusive titles. There's no multi-platform games on my PlayStation 3. So you get the idea. When my Xbox One is basically the same way. It doesn't mean it can't be used in a good way. It doesn't mean it can't be. It doesn't mean that there's not fun to be had on it. But it's just not the best perception and the best image for it. So with the Xbox One X coming out, I don't think it's going to change all that, because yes, it is the most powerful console ever made. The performance promises that they're giving are kind of falling through and being spotty at best, because we all know for the most part it's not going to deliver the true 4K uncompromised 60 FPS that they've all promised. It'll sell in decent numbers at first. It'll probably sell out in the initial batch or two, but after that I think it's going to nosedive off. I think you might see it get to the point where one in maybe every 20 Xbox One sold is probably going to be an Xbox One X. So that's another thing to worry about, because it's a very specific market, and I don't think Microsoft are going to be able to pull back the majority with a console that is twice the price of, I won't say the competition, but it's twice the price of other not so much comparable, but just other consoles available. When you look at the price of an Xbox One S and the price of a PS4 Slim, you're looking at twice as much just to pick up an Xbox One X. So that's basically it when it comes to my experience with the Xbox One from 2013 all the way up to just before the Xbox One X releases here in 2017. It's been fun for parts, but it's been disappointing and boring for others. I wish the Xbox One would have done better and would have given me more reasons to actually use it, and more varied reasons for me to use it, as well as more appealing reasons for the public to buy it, and that way I get better support, yada yada yada. But the point is, it didn't, and we have to live with it. That it is what it is. And despite I've said it a few times, but despite the many glaring faults and the big issues and all, I've had fun with it. I don't consider it a waste of money. I wouldn't really call it a complete failure, because 30 million units is still fine. It's not a Wii U after all. But we'll see how it goes. I don't think there'll be a massive pickup in the Xbox One's lifespan at all. Just even 5-6 years from now, if hopefully the console generation doesn't even last that long. But that's it. Let me know your experience with the Xbox One family, the Xbox One, or whatever it is in general. Have you had a situation where you said, oh, we're going to stay away from the Xbox One because all my friends are buying PlayStation, or we looked at it and we didn't want the power, or whatever it is? Let me know your positive and or negative experience with the Xbox One in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.